everyone. Welcome to today's Tech Talk. I'm Yannick, and I'm so happy to have you join us as we explore a topic that is increasingly relevant in our fast-paced world: how AI is reshaping tech job opportunities. With AI technology advancing rapidly, it is very essential for us to understand not only the changes happening in our industry, but also how we can adapt to these changes. Today with me, I am so fortunate to have Dimitri Gardin, an expert in technology and business with over 2 decades, with a wide range of companies from major fortune players to startup. I'm just going to give him the floor to introduce more of himself, and then we are going to start from there.
Okay, great. Well, first off, thanks for having me. We've been chatting a bit less formally, but I'm happy to participate in this podcast and spread my knowledge with your subscribers and your listeners. I'd also like additionally mention that it's great what you're doing, because I see you're doing a lot of things to really help people, to bring awareness to people, and to not only help the higher end experienced professionals, but also a lot of entry level and junior people who will become the drivers of today's technology in the years to come. So to speak about myself, I've been doing this for 28 years. I've had my own company for 21 years. My company is G-Tech NY. My focus has been predominantly placing technology people. So I've done recruitment as well as account management, of course. So as I generate my accounts, over the years, I've built certain relationships where a lot of my clients come to me and ask me similar type of questions. Right now, the way the hiring landscape is managers tend to be a little bit less flexible on what they are able to hire. If they're able to hire my partner with people who work for me, even though technically they work for me, but I see them as my partners, not as my subordinates. But beyond that, I did start my own company from scratch 21 years ago. And before that, I did a couple of staffing startups, as well as since then, especially in the last several years, I've helped other people do their own consulting or staffing startups, whether it's getting going from scratch, or a lot of times when technologists, they have too much demand for their skills, and they have enough people who do similar type of work. They like to become kind of the medium between the hiring companies and their colleagues or friends. And this allows them to grow. And a lot of times, some of the largest companies actually get started that way.
Wow. Thank you very much for joining. When I was supposed to connect with you on this, I was like, looking at your experience, you'll be the best person to explain this topic that we are going to discuss today. Just to start, in one of your write-ups 2 days ago, you mentioned something about how unemployment and inflation has been increasing, and also a lot of layoffs. As you can see, major giant companies, they are doing layoffs and the rest. My question goes, what are job seekers to do in this situation? Because many job seekers are complaining. Every day we hear of complaints. There are no jobs. We are applying to many jobs, but to no response and things like that. So what can you say, or what are some of these complaints in respect to the challenges that job seekers are facing? Referring to the beneath part of your write-up, you said every situation, no matter how challenging or difficult, has a solution, right?
Of course.
And then, so now, what can you say concerning this situation and some few solutions that you can bring in for the job seekers in respect to AI?
Certainly, certainly. So, well, first of all, before I go into my specific industry type of an answer, I want to give a general answer. The general answer is this: everything in our lives is temporary. Life itself is temporary.
That's short.
Because of that, every joy and every misfortune will eventually end. The question is, where do you end up
Mhm.
once it's over. I remember when I just got started, I became a recruiter in 1997. I had no idea
Oh,
what this industry meant. I had no idea what it represented, but I started doing it every day. I was trained. And the very first day, the meeting that I got, one of the things I was told is, well, if somebody tells you to call HR, human resources, just tell them you like to prefer to work with the hiring managers. I thought to
yes.
myself that human resources was a government agency. And I thought to myself, why would people tell me to call a government agency? I was as clueless as you can imagine.
Oh,
And but a couple of years later, when all of a sudden dot coms were created,
mm,
internet really took over everything in 99, 2000. I remember I ran a team, and a lot of people who worked for me, I used to teach them good basics, right? Proper basics of the industry, of sales, of account management in any industry, frankly. And a lot of times they would not be big fans of listening to me. They would say, "Oh, things are so great. We don't need to really check all the boxes, dot all the I's, cross all the T's," right? And I always said, eventually it ends. Okay. And when it crashed in 2000, by 2001, most dot coms of the time closed, unfortunately. There was a lot of certainly success that we saw, but and a complete revolution in technology. But we also saw a lot of companies that were fairly promising completely fail. Not to examine why, but just to state that a lot of people left our industry entirely. A lot of people realized that's not for them. Okay. One of very important things that we need to always keep in mind is it's a bit of that Darwinism, right? Darwinism is survival of the fittest. It
yes.
doesn't matter what you specialize in doing, but you need to always have a backup plan in your mind. You always need, when I say backup plan, I don't mean that you were going to become a lawyer, got your law degree, and then decided to be a writer. And if it fails, go back to law, right? That's not what I'm
Yes.
talking about. What I'm talking about is have a backup on a backup within your industry. If you, for example, cannot make money right now as a permanent employee, are you able to provide ad hoc support? If you are not able to provide ad hoc support, have you considered starting your own company maybe if you have enough contacts? If you don't have enough contacts, have you been doing the legwork to establish enough contacts? Even though right now it seems, but I need results right now. Establishing contacts will take a
Yes.
long time.
Yes.
That is true. But 2, 3 years down the line, you're going to look back at it, or even 2, 3 months down the line, you're going to look back and say, you know what? Things haven't gotten better. I really wish 2, 3 months ago I did the legwork. So today is not as bad as it was 2, 3 months ago. So today is better. So most importantly, no matter how well or how poorly you are doing in the moment, whether it's an industry trend or whether it's your individual situation that you're accommodating,
Yes.
always keep in mind it's like my favorite metaphor is being a shark. Sharks swim even when they sleep. Okay.
Mm,
So at all times, keep moving forward.
right.
Learning never stops, creativity never stops. If you don't know how to apply creativity to your field, apply it to a different field, a field you're more familiar with, more comfortable
Yes.
with. I don't care what that is. Maybe you paint, maybe you write, maybe you play soccer. I don't care what it is, but come
Mm,
up with some creative methodologies and using the same mindset, the same approach, then start
yes.
applying it to other ways. Okay. Now, to be a little bit more specific, you mentioned, for example, some of the things I said, about rising inflation and unemployment, so on and so
Yes.
forth. The article you're referring to is actually called The Inevitable Unpredictability of the Current Moment. I
Mm,
wrote that a couple of weeks ago. Now, yes, the first thing that I would recommend is for people to go to my blog, gtechny.com/blog, and read some of the articles I have there. Some things I make very specific, they just for the moment. For
yes.
example, last year I wrote an article that took about the middle of last year. I wrote about looking for a job in 2024. At the end of last year, I wrote oh, excuse me, the first week of this year, or 2025 is here, as
Yeah,
we
very
were
good one.
anticipating the changes, right?
Yes.
And to be honest with you, even in 2024, I wrote two different articles about how to look for a job, because those things certainly make a difference. Now, beyond that, I have a lot of articles there on creating a proper resume, on different industry trends, on the effect of automation on our field, on the technology field. And a lot of people, they mistakenly see automation as something that is related to DevOps, for example,
That's true.
or even the internet. The biggest automation right now is artificial intelligence, AI, the agentic life, right? Right now, if you're puzzled, like, how do I really take my creativity that I'm great at being creative in certain field, but I don't know how to apply it in such and such field, right? For example, in my field of technology, in my field of programming, guess what? I know this may sound slightly shallow, but it's an amazing way to get it done. Go to ChatGPT, type in exactly that. Hey, I'm very good at being creative in this field. These are specific examples of my creativity. Okay. I
Yes.
need to apply that same creativity to this field. How do I do that? Now, ChatGPT will give you a lot of general things. They
A whole
probably
lot of
will
it.
not be enough for you to truly excel in that field, but they're going to get you going. And once you start moving forward, it's so much easier to speed up, to change your speed, to do better, and to start adding things. Most importantly, it'll give you awareness of the industry, awareness of the moment, and it'll empower you first and foremost. So, but besides looking at my blog and looking at my and talking to ChatGPT or other agents, whether it's Copilot, Gemini, or DeepSeek, whatever you prefer to use,
Just a
or
whole
any of
lot.
the other ones, right? Claude certainly
Yes.
has amazing models as well. Besides that, there are two categories in job search. To simplify them, one, I will call one presentation, the other one I will call methodology. Now, presentation is how you present yourself. What that means is, do you present yourself predominantly through resume and LinkedIn? The answer for most people would be yes. Some people, like executives, for instance, they tend to present themselves through a lot of human to human interactions. Okay. They don't send out their resumes even when they're looking for a job. They just
That's
contact
true.
people they know and they talk to them about, hey, I'm looking for a job. This is what I've been doing lately. And sometimes they do need to see a resume, but that's secondary because they already have somebody walking them into a potential opportunity. Okay.
Yes.
However, for absolute majority of people, presentation is going to be a resume and LinkedIn. Now, what is important about a resume? Resume, first and foremost, has to be different from others in your field. You may say, but others in my field do a pretty good job of describing the skills. That is true. But if there's 1,000 applications for a position, or even 100, or even 20, and everybody describes themselves more or less the same way, what are the odds that you're going to be picked 1 out of 20? Well, 1 out of 20 is 5%. That's pretty
Yes.
low, right? Now, if that, and that's if you see 20 resumes. However, if 100 people apply, only 1%, right? The odds really decrease. However, if your resume truly stands out, and I'm not talking about like the graphics that you apply to your resume. I'm talking about how you describe your background. Is your resume easy to understand? Are things clear based upon the way you're describing yourself? Okay, that's what's going to make a big difference. So that's the resume. In LinkedIn, a lot of companies don't even post positions on job boards. Okay, specifically, a lot of positions right now don't even have approvals. So companies, they just kind of look preliminary searches, and when they find an absolutely amazing match for what it is they're looking for in terms of a candidate, a person that they like, they have a meet with other people, and then they go to their CEO or board of directors and they say, hey guys, I know we're in a hiring freeze. I know I don't have budget to hire, but you've been giving me a lot of pressure to get something specific done. I cannot get it done with existing staff. I need an additional person. And guess what? I'm not saying I want to start a search. I already found that person. This person is really amazing. If you want to meet him, no problem. If not, I'll tell you about it. And then sometimes they can reallocate resources from their existing budget towards hiring of that particular person, not to get headcount for a new hire, but just to reallocate existing resources once the work's already done. Now, sometimes it doesn't work, but a lot of times, if companies spend time on it, they know what it takes to get it done. And LinkedIn is a much better way of doing it versus posting positions, because when you post positions, too many people apply, they constantly contact you, they ask you questions,
Yes.
and a lot of times people prefer to be the ones in charge. A lot of times people prefer to be the ones actually looking for people themselves, as opposed to having everybody apply whether they're a good match
Right.
or not.
Yes, that's right.
And where do they go to look? They go on LinkedIn. And if your profile isn't optimized, it's kind of like search engine optimization for a website. If your
Yes.
profile isn't optimized, so when companies are looking for people with your skills, whether it's actual technical skills or responsibilities, right, of the type of things you've done, if they're looking for somebody like you, and your profile doesn't come up at the top couple of pages of results, then nobody's going to go to page 5 or especially 10 in this market. You have to
That's
make
true.
sure that your profile is optimized so you come up highly in those results. So that's presentation. And methodology is very simple. It's how most recruiters have worked for so long. Methodology is all about find decision makers. Otherwise, you're dealing with a lot of ATS filters, junior recruiters, consulting companies, staffing companies. Most companies don't want to pay staffing or consulting companies right now unless it's very difficult skills that they are unable to find on their own. So yes, you get a
Yes.
call from a staffing company and they say, "Oh my God, Yannick, you have such an amazing resume. Oh, do you do this? Oh, you do really? Oh, that's amazing. How about this? Oh, that's great." They get excited about you. They take your resume, send it to a client. A client says, "Thanks for sending, but I'm not really looking for somebody." And they say, "Oh, I
There you
was
go.
really hoping you would be excited about Yannick. He's amazing." "Yes, I agree he's amazing, but I'm not looking for someone like that." "Oh, sorry about that." And then I never hear from that staffing firm again. And you email
It
them
always
and they
comes.
don't get back to you and you don't know what's
Yes.
going on. All they were trying to do is they were trying to generate activity. They didn't have an account. They were hoping to generate it. Now, you can blame them for doing it because they do place people that way sometimes. However, for every one person they place, they generate hundreds and hundreds of frustrated job seekers who don't understand why their time is being wasted. Well, such are the rules of the game today. That's why going to decision makers, meaning actual hiring managers, is so useful, important, and helpful right now.
Wow. That's just a whole lot. That's just a whole lot. Most precisely the LinkedIn. Because most of the times you go to a job and you will see more than 100 applicants. More than 100 applicants. Most of the jobs on LinkedIn, there are always more than 100 applicants. And there is this thing always easy apply that folks just go in and just click on the easy apply and boom, that's it. But forgetting the aspect because you made mention about the presentation, your resume, where most of the times in the course of research or building a resume, you are being told to streamline your resume based on the job description or tailor your resume based on the job description. As you rightly said, the presentation part of it. So that is just one of the key challenges that many of these job seekers are facing. And coming to that, you will also hear of the complaint of there are no jobs. The market is saturated. Companies are not bringing out jobs for job seekers. So I don't know how true or how you can explain about that.
Well, a couple of things. First, I want to make a quick note about when you said easy apply. Yes, easy apply is there, but here's the thing. Some companies try to get rid of the wrong applicants and they make you answer a lot of questions. Or instead of
Yes,
applying on LinkedIn, they redirect you to their website where you have to fill out a form all from scratch. A lot of times, it's such a time waste. Most people don't want to do it. And what
that's the
ends up
thing.
happening is they actually end up with the most desperate job seekers, people who say, "I've been looking for a job for the past 4, 5, 6 months, can't find anything.
Yes.
I don't
Oh, yes.
care. I will apply. I will fill out whatever fields are necessary in the off chance that maybe I will experience some luck there." So easy apply is still my preferred method. companies that are urgently looking, which unfortunately there aren't that many of them, but companies that are urgently looking, they will still use the easy apply methodology. Perhaps the most they will ask is, do you require sponsorship right now? Because that is more challenging than ever. And whether, even if you don't right now, whether you'll require it down the line. But a lot of other questions, when they start asking them, they're usually applying the kind of criteria that they need to apply through talking to people that they like. So
That's true.
that's, as far as that application process is concerned. Okay.
Yes.
Now, you actually asked me two questions, kind of. Which one would you like me to answer first?
You can go with the first one.
Okay. Which one? Just refresh me which one you want me to cover first.
The challenges at the level. You spoke about the challenges at the level of the job seekers,
Okay. Okay.
and
So,
you spoke about, yes. Go ahead.
well, you want to talk about challenges in general, or you want to talk about a specific aspect of any of the challenges? Because as you can see, I have something to say about each aspect of what you mentioned. So I want to
Yes.
make sure that I answer your question accurately.
Now, challenges at the level of job seekers with the AI using because there are a lot of AIs out, a lot of AI technologies outside. So, and to the job seekers or those looking for jobs, they are like, we need to use AI to tailor the resume. We need to use AI to apply for jobs. We need based on the ATS system for
Yep.
employees. You need to tailor your resume in such a way it is going to bypass the ATS.
Okay. So a couple of things. First of all, AI is a very large topic. I believe you want to talk about it further, but first I want to talk about tailoring your resume.
Yes.
Tailoring your resume, in my opinion, and again, I've been doing this for 28 years, so I'm going to say something some people may disagree with, but I will tell you, tailoring your resume to each job or having like 5 different versions of your resume is the worst possible thing you can do for yourself. And here is why. Anybody, when they apply to a position that I post, for example, with one of my clients, and I look at a resume and I say, this seems like possibly a good match. First thing I do is I go look on LinkedIn. If I see the resume and their LinkedIn are very different, okay, and not that their has almost no information and the resume has information, okay,
Yeah.
that's a different story. Then I just understand they didn't do a good job with LinkedIn. But if they reflect different backgrounds, then a lot of times I say, oh, I know that it's tailored it towards this job. So the outside, they may not even know what they're claiming to know on the resume. Okay.
That's true.
And that is something every single staffing professional is going to do, whether internal recruiters or the an external company like mine. So the best thing to do is find what you're best at, do research, market research to find out. Again, you can read my articles, they talk a lot about that. Okay, do market research for what's useful right now. For example, one of the things that right now is not very much in demand, okay, is middle managers, people who don't actually do very much other than allocate resources, like project managers, like product managers. There's not that much demand for them. Yes, product and project managers have jobs, but for new positions, a lot of times they're not hiring people who just specialize in that. Okay. So once you've identified what it is that you do best that corresponds with today's needs, focus on that in your resume. Don't attempt to
Okay.
cover everything. Don't attempt to present everything. Don't attempt to um, exaggerate any of your experience or knowledge. Okay. Be direct, be clear, be easy to understand, and make sure you speak in a language that again corresponds with today's needs. And as far as
That's
yes, and as far as lack of hiring, okay, the main reason for well, there are two main reasons for lack of hiring. Number one, right now, because there's not a lot of hiring, and it's a very tedious and difficult process, when people are employed, they don't want to look for a job. Okay, so that means that there are always two types of positions: replacement roles and newly created roles, growth roles. Now, replacement roles kind of don't exist because people don't want to leave their current jobs, right? They're afraid that the manager may find out and they may be the next one to get laid off or possibly even
yes.
fired. It's also very time consuming, and people are working more than ever right now. So a lot of times people stay put. That's number one. Number two, there's a huge technology revolution also in the industry with AI, as you accurately pointed out. So if people are upscaling on the job and they know exactly what the company needs in that moment, it's a lot better to keep that person employed versus looking for somebody new. So yeah, so people are far more motivated to stay there, so replace in their current roles. So replacement roles don't exist nearly as much as before. Now it creates stability, which is great, but it also prevents people from growing their skills as much. Because once you're in a certain company and you keep on using same skills over and over and over, even if those are high level skills, the odds are when you leave, your skills are not going to be as applicable to the rest of the market, which is why I say it's always important to keep on looking for a job. And as far as
Yes.
layoffs, I mean, we've all heard about efficiency cuts, okay? If you haven't, Google what Elon Musk has been up to lately, okay?
That's
He's been
true.
up to firing a lot of federal
A
employees,
lot,
okay?
lot.
And that's been everybody. Now, here is the thing. Federal government, what they want to do, and this is something Republicans have been trying to do for decades already, okay, really ever since Reagan and Greenspan changed our economy and decided to grow personal and national debt instead of strengthening the general economy of the country.
I mean,
Okay, it's known as Reaganomics, trickle down economics. I'm sure you've heard those buzzwords. Nobody really talks about them anymore, but that's the world we're living in. This is no longer the free markets. And if you doubt that, look at 2009 and how many companies got bailed out, and how many people to this day are screaming and yelling that Lehman and Bear Stearns should have never been allowed to go out of business. They should have been bailed out as well.
yes,
Okay,
yes,
so so besides privatization at a federal level, on a private level, there's a lot of companies that have been just replacing current needs with AI initiatives. Okay. For example, there's a company, a payments company called Klarna. I talk about it in several of my articles. Okay. They've been talking about how much money they've been saving with replacing people with AI. They haven't hired anybody at all, and they've been and all they've been doing is implementing more and more AI tools. Now, a couple of things. First of all, AI tools still need to be operated by people. So what that means is that I mean, there's a lot of automation there, but there is no complete automation. Plus, AI is growing constantly. NVIDIA chips that are so much in demand are very expensive. Most cannot afford it. That means that most companies are going to employ other companies' LLMs, whether it's OpenAI or
yes,
Google's,
yes.
et
To take
cetera, et
care.
cetera. That means they're giving data away, because once you're using somebody else's LLM, you're training that LLM on your data. Okay.
Yes,
And if you create an SLM, which is a small language model, right, then it's too specific to your situation. And if there's ever a need to step outside of that, the immediate situation, then your SLM is not going to be ready for it most of the time, which is why you need LLM. So, but here's the funny thing: Klarna, being I believe a $2.5 billion valuation right now as they're going public, only saved a couple of $100 million on replacing people with AI.
yes,
So it's not that big a savings. Now, long term, yes, there will be larger savings, but here is the thing, and I believe you asked me this question earlier about the ethical aspects of artificial intelligence.
yes,
Is AI making our society better? Because we are not a nation of producers as much as Donald Trump wants to change it with all the tariffs. Okay. Well, wreaking havoc on the economy and everybody's minds. Uh,
yes,
we haven't been that nation in a very long time. Ever since Richard Nixon made a deal with China and began outsourcing a lot of American manufacturing to China, okay, at a very low price. No longer those prices are no longer available to us, obviously, but as China has grown and developed. But having said that, ever since that, we are mostly a country of services, right? I mean, think who's made the most money for quite a while: attorneys, doctors, right?
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
unfortunately, doctors don't make that much money anymore. It's HMOs
And
that make money. But but that's a different story, right?
yeah, that's
I
true.
mean, they still make big money, but
Big
not as
money
big, obviously, as HMOs do.
as a pass. Yes.
Right. So again, it's important to understand that companies in their efficiency efforts in trying to make things, otherwise known as scaling, for example, right? Are they actually growing as companies, or are they just growing their revenue? We are a nation of consumers. About half of our entire GDP relies on consumer spending. Okay, a little more than half even. Okay, so because of that, when consumer spending goes down, like right now, consumer sentiment really sunk. It sunk, and guess what? The Walmart stock is going down. Okay, when Walmart stock goes down, guess what happens? Dollar General, okay, is declaring bankruptcy, and et cetera, et cetera.
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
and Target is dropping their
Up and
goals, right,
down.
after doing
Yeah.
extremely well before. And even Costco right now, after doing so well for so long, is tightening their belts slightly. Okay. So again, it's a mechanism, but everything is interrelated. Okay. So most importantly, with replacing people with AI, is this making company a better company? And is this essential? It is my opinion that a lot of the work that is being done, okay, right now, people have to handle. There's no more project manager, architect, team lead, and developer. Now there's an architect who does also development, leads the team of one, him or herself,
Yes.
as well as does project management, product management, testing, and yes, AI tools make it all possible. But that person becomes so expensive, then possibly hiring several people at a lower salary maybe would have also made sense. But here is the issue. Then you have to open up remote work again, because in cities like Los Angeles, Boston, New York, Chicago, it is impossible to survive at 50, 60K. And if you need at least 120 to 150K to survive in a big city, then guess what? For 150 to 200K, which is what a senior person would typically get, right?
Yes.
Companies don't
Yes.
want to hire five people to do all the work. They want to hire one person and
One
use all
person to
that
do it.
AI. But here is the dilemma. CEO salaries have gone up thousands of percent over the last several decades, while employee salaries have only something like quadrupled. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, of course they've grown. I mean, inflation, times have changed. Of course, they've grown significantly. Minimum wage when I came to this country in 1991 used to be 325. Yes, my first job was at McDonald's, making 325 an hour. And after I lasted there exactly 1 week at the age of 16, I decided to take the $100 that I made in that week, buy myself a tennis racket and some tennis balls, and spend the rest of the summer before I went to high school, playing tennis in my apartment complex. Right now, making 325 an hour per week. I don't know if you can even afford to buy a tennis racket anymore.
No way. No way.
I may be exaggerating,
Ridiculous.
but not by a lot.
You're right.
Okay. So that's kind of the catch that we are dealing with, right? As profits increase, okay, as there are more and more. Before there were there were literally hundreds of millionaires in the country. Then it became thousands. Now there's already multiple billionaires in the country. Elon Musk has been articles about him becoming a trillionaire by next year, which is not that far fetched the way things are going. Okay, his X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, again is generating revenue from advertisers after turning them off for a while. Well, because there's only so many places they can go to. Okay. Yes, Tesla's losing market share and losing a lot of money, but making it an ideological choice, kind of like, oh, it's not that people are against me because I'm a bad guy. People are against me because I'm a Republican or because I support Donald Trump, right? And then all of a sudden, it works differently. And then the White House officials going to promote buying Tesla stock or buying Tesla cars. Even Donald Trump himself made a whole big show out of
Oh, yes.
purchasing a Tesla, right? I
I
mean,
saw that.
talk about ethical ramifications of that. But point I'm trying to make is as there are more and more people making that much money, it seems reasonable to charge more money for services and goods that are produced. Okay. Even service and goods that are produced abroad, what happens? They come here and they're packaged, repackaged, and sold, resold by local suppliers, unless, of course, you're buying from Temu directly or something similar, right? And then there is a huge, price increase as a result. So, maybe the cabinet that you bought that is manufactured in China, maybe it cost the reseller $4, but you bought it for $180. Well, guess what? Yes, maybe besides those $4, they also paid another $20, $30 in shipping costs, another maybe $10, $20 in certain fees. What about the rest of it? Right? It's not good enough to make 100% profit in the age when, in order to grow, you have to invest in NVIDIA chips and you have to invest in training your own LLMs, and it's going to cost you hundreds of millions of dollars. So I know I kind of gave a very
Ooh.
broad answer.
Oh,
Um,
that's a whole insight. Just from what you said, I'll bring out two questions from what you said. The first is concerning the replacement, the current workers, for example. The question goes this way: how can workers currently in tech roles upskill or reskill to remain relevant in the job market dominated by a lot of AI technologies? Because you hear of this saying, AI is taking out jobs for employees. Like
yep,
in the next 5 years, AI will be controlling the market.
yep.
So how can these workers currently integral, upskill, or reskill to remain relevant to the job market?
So you're absolutely correct. The Salesforce CEO said just recently that he has zero plans of hiring this year for the entire company. He's just going to employ more and more AI. Meta laid off 5% of the entire workforce, thousands of people. They also hiring a few ML developers, but obviously it doesn't compensate for the people that they laid off. SAP just became Europe's #1 company, right?
Yes.
And they're also predominantly using more and more AI. That's how they've grown so much because their AI features, AI capabilities have increased drastically. Okay. So absolutely, AI is the name of the game. So how does a regular person use AI or learn AI, excuse me? Okay. So first you need to understand that there are a couple of things, okay? A couple of things that all AI systems share in common, okay? Now, the most common one that people are familiar with is hallucinations, where AI produces false results. It's
Mm.
been largely addressed with a lot of the newer models, but until quantum computing is widely available, which is not going to be for a while still, okay, I don't think it's going to be completely addressed. However, it's not as big of an issue, but they all hallucinate at least a little bit. Just
Yes.
yesterday, I told my son we were calculating a certain amount, and I gave him an answer, and he wanted to show off and said, "Hey, Alexa," and he asked her a question, and Alexa, she gave a completely wrong answer. And I said, "That's not right." He's like, "No, she's always right." I said, "Trust me, it's not right. Recalculate it." So he broke it down to two parts. First, multiplied the hundreds and then the single digits. And he's like, "Oh, yeah, you're right. It is wrong." Okay. So again, there's going to be hallucinations with any level, right? Whether it's low level like Alexa or Google Voice, or more elaborate LLM models like ChatGPT or Gemini. Okay. There's also a concept of overfitting. Okay, where an LLM model looks at something that doesn't typically happen, something that is unusual, looks at a crowd of 100 men and sees one woman and thinks there are men and women in that crowd, so it's probably 50-50, even if that particular crowd it's analyzing has one woman and 99 men. I'm using it for instance, right?
Yes.
And instead of looking at it as an exception, instead of looking at it as not a tendency, it treats it as something that is a rule every single time. Okay. Perhaps if it observes a car accident on a street, it assumes that there's always car accidents on that particular street, potentially at that particular time, or this
Oh, yes.
this
Yes.
season of the year,
Oh,
right?
that's the case.
So the best way to work with that is use AI. There's a concept of a super user in a lot of the applications. Become a super user of AI systems. Okay, use it for everything. Go there and literally type in, "Hey, I'm hungry. What should I eat?" and see how it answers. And then talk to it. It suggests for you different things and says, "Okay, what about this? Yeah, that sounds good. What about this aspect of this food? Maybe it says, well, you can eat this type of stuff, and you pick maybe eating a cake, right? And you say, okay, great. I think I'm going to eat a cake, but let me ask you a question. Cakes usually have a lot of calories, right? Is that bad for me?" And then all of a sudden the AI starts giving you the aspect of, yes, it's probably not that great for your health to constantly consume a lot of calories and a lot of fat that cakes are associated with. Suddenly you see AI systems don't immediately give you every aspect of a certain topic, right? You
100%.
have to be very
Yes.
pointed with it. Now, when you go to specialty AI applications, it works exactly the same way. If you ask them specific questions, it'll usually give you specific answers. If you ask them
Yes.
general
Yes.
questions, it'll give you general
General
answers.
answer.
Now,
Yeah.
just like the if statement in programming, you can also set certain parameters. For example, you can say, "Hey, I'm going to ask you some questions. Give me very thorough answers and keep this couple of points in mind because that's what's important to me." Okay. Same thing. If you're doing work, what's important for you is speed. Dictate to your AI system that that's what's important to you. Okay. You can also create sandbox environments. Okay. Meaning testing environments
Yes.
where you basically build your own SLM of sorts. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Around your mindset. And then you can customize your account. Okay. Of course, provided you're logged into an account. Okay. You customize your account in a way that's going to accommodate your specific interests. And once you start doing that, you begin to understand how AI works. Once you understand how AI works, it's a lot easier to use it. And AI is a lot more simple to learn versus,
Yes.
let's say,
I
regular
agree.
programming. The other day, I was thinking, a couple of weeks ago, I was thinking about making some changes to my website. And I asked ChatGPT for my options, and ChatGPT told me, well, you can either stay with WordPress because that's what I used for ease in the beginning, or I can build your React website. So at first, I entertained the concept of a React website, and I looked at it, and ChatGPT within no more than 30 seconds wrote so much code for me in order to build certain pages. It was absolutely amazing. Now, here's the problem. After it gave it to me, it told me to upload it to GitHub and then, so on and so forth from there.
Yeah. Repository.
But I forgot to include the index file. And being that I'm not a programmer, I don't know how to create index files.
Fine.
Okay. Now I could go there separately and say, hey, create just the index file for me. Because if you ask it to restart from scratch, it could make the same mistake again. Okay. So, for example, that's something that I learned from trying to program as a non-programmer. Okay. So again, the more you play with different AI systems, the more you will learn. But there are also newsletters you may want to sign up for. Okay, there is a TLDR newsletter, AI TLDR newsletter that I subscribe to. For example, every day I get an email from them that tells me about all the advances in the industry, different LLMs. Why you may want to use this one or that one. And lastly, I want to say talk to experts, connect to experts on LinkedIn, follow them, even if you don't connect with them on LinkedIn, and look on LinkedIn. Just like you look on social media, you scroll just for fun, right? Scroll on
Yes.
LinkedIn and sometimes go to an authority on a topic, go to their page and look at their latest posts. They will usually talk about certain industry standards and industry um, advances and whatnot. Now, if you're going to see that they are, for example, a lot of people I noticed when DeepSeek just came out started talking about it being an open source model. It's not open source. China still holds the source code for it, okay? And you're not allowed to modify it. But it is open weights, which means that it was trained on existing LLMs, okay? So it's not all original content, which speeds things up. And guess what's going to happen moving forward, okay? Yes, creating new LLMs is going to be a lot less expensive. It's no longer going to take hundreds of millions of dollars for each new version of a new LLM because they're just going to rely on previous information already from an LLM. Okay. So again, keep on playing, keep on experimenting, and definitely follow people that you view as knowledgeable. I'm not talking about Bill Gates. That guy is way
Yes,
too high up there. Okay. Bird's eye
that's
view.
true.
If you want to upscale yourself, find somebody that you want to become who is
Mm,
vocal, okay, on
yes.
LinkedIn, and follow that person.
Mm, follow someone on LinkedIn that is going to help you to grow. That's a takeout message for this. And also learn as more because most of the platforms, for example, in some of the DevOps tools, most of though these platforms they have been integrated with AI. We look at Azure, we have for Microsoft, we have the Copilot. We go to GitHub, there's Copilot. We go to these different platforms that have been integrated with Copilot just to make things easy for those using it, for those learning it, to enhance themselves, to build themselves, to reskill themselves. So it's just for job seekers, those learning to keep learning, as you rightly said in the first part. Keep learning, keep building yourself. That's the only way to grow. I believe
Yeah,
that that's
one
the way
thing,
to grow.
one thing I want to add, by the way, as far as which agents to use, okay? Microsoft has always been excellent at making things user friendly,
Yes,
but you cannot use SQL Server on Unix, for example, because
that's
Microsoft
true.
only wants people to use their products on their platform. So
Mm,
what that means, Copilot is amazing, but if you ask Copilot anything that Microsoft doesn't cover, guess what? It's not going to give you the answer you're looking for.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
So I think it's critical to understand who you're talking to, whether it's an individual or whether, again, it's an AI agent.
Yeah.
Okay. I personally prefer, I know a lot of people say DeepSeek is really good. It is excellent at reasoning. But, Coleman may be old school, but I prefer to work with more locally established ones. And I think that between Gemini and ChatGPT, you can
Yes.
find answers to almost everything. And they're great at coding and they're great at answering all your questions.
That's true. That's true. Wow. Just to wrap it up, just to wrap it up for today, looking at the industry, looking at 5 to 10 years into the future, how do you envision the tech job landscape with the advancement in AI?
So, um, so it's not an easy question to answer. It's literally just like I said, the inevitable unpredictability of the current moment,
Yes.
right? It's not just about Dodge layoffs. It's not just about, are we going to hit recession, stagflation, or are we going to be just fine? Okay. It's a lot of it is where is AI going to take us? Now, for
Mm,
everybody who's ever watched Terminator, okay, any one of them, okay, you know
yes.
what happens when AI takes over, okay? First built as a great software program, finally becomes self-aware and takes control, okay? And yes, that's general intelligence, okay? And eventually we will get there. Again, I don't think we're going to get there until quantum computing is available. But I do think, first of all, it's already available in many places. But many places, of course, I'm talking about like Dubai and MIT. Okay, but meaning that it's not just one place in the world. Um, so that's number one. But number two, what do I think is going to go? I think that most people are going to be reminded that as great as technology may be, and keep in mind, technology has only been on the rise for the past maybe 30 years. I mean, on a wide scale, right? I mean, I became a recruiter in 97, and I still to this day remember calling some companies and say, hey, I play technology people. looking for somebody, and they would say, sorry, we don't have computers here. Not many people, not many places would say that, of course, but a lot of them
Mm,
would. I remember the
yes.
very first guy I placed, it was a Canadian fashion company with an office in New York with 20 computers. And the office manager was going on maternity leave, and she was also their computer tech. So they needed to
Oh,
hire a computer tech. And that's the very first person I placed. For 30K, I placed a Windows NT computer technician. Okay. Granted, 1997.
oh,
But, right.
1997.
Right, but point I'm trying to make, it's only over the last 30 years. I mean, look, mainframe was still COBOL, JCL was still the main development languages 30 years ago. Okay,
Yes.
C and C++ was still super powerful. Java was weak. There was no J2E, there was no .NET. You had to build all your own ActiveX controllers and et cetera, et cetera. So there was no PHP, right? Perl was really popular instead of Python like right now.
Yes.
So so again, I mean, we had this great 30-year run out of thousands of years of civilizations, right? That we are a product of. I think that it's changing. Okay, people are being reminded by AI that technology can support itself, but we need to support each other, and we need to support technology. Okay, not just invent it, but support it. Okay.
Mm,
So what's essential is our ability to speak, our ability to communicate, our ability to think outside the box, our ability to, it's a popular expression, to look under the hood, meaning
mm,
how does this work? Not just say, sure, go for it, right? But kind of like what I said with using ChatGPT to play with, right? Let's see exactly the limitations and let's see exactly the capabilities of this system. Okay. So I think that human qualities will always be in need. And
yes. Yes.
another thing is, as a lot of us notice, is after the pandemic, I've been a huge loneliness pandemic. Okay. Not the COVID pandemic, but loneliness pandemic. People got so used to sitting at home, stay away from others, that we
Remote
never truly
jobs.
got back to, right, a lot of remote work. We never truly got
Yes.
back to communicating with each other. But that's what makes us human. This is who we are as species. Okay. So I think that AI will probably help us automate a lot of things, but it has limitations. Okay. So find how you can use your human intellect and human capabilities to make the world a better place, not how you can use technology to make a world a better place, because technology will only automate certain specific needs, but not have the type of an effect that a human being will have, right? People still remember who Mother Teresa was. People will forget who Mark Zuckerberg was sometime down the line.
Yes. Mm. Wow. No, thank you. Thank you so much for giving us the time to look at this insight of AI and the job seekers. A whole lot of questions in less than an hour has been answered because there are a lot of challenges, a lot of questions coming in every day from those applying for jobs, for those already working. They're like asking questions. To get in is a problem. Am I going to lose my job because of AI? So all the questions have been answered. And to know more, as Dimitri really said, I'm going to put the links to his page where you can read more information. I'm going to put his LinkedIn, building your career, doing your resume, interview preparation, knowing more about the industry, starting up a company, all those things. He'll be able to do it and he'll be able to direct you. So thank you very much, sir, for giving us your
Thank you,
insight today.
Yannick. Yes, thank you
Thank you
for
very
your
much.
time and thank you for having me. And it was a pleasure talking to you. Look forward to speaking again soon.
Thank you, sir.